And welcome back. You're still watching Power Breakfast right on Citizen TV. It's time for the news review with me, Fred Ndimuli. My panelists this morning, Joseph Simeha, NASA strategist. Are you still the NASA strategist, or now it's ODM strategist?
we still have NASA, and we still have. I'm not the NASA strategist, because that would suggest
yes,
I am the only person who.
But you're still in the team.
I'm still in the team.
So you still strategize for NASA?
Of course.
Okay.
Yes.
Good.
Don't imagine that we don't have NASA. It's there and it will be there.
Joseph Simeha, NASA strategist, and next to him we do have Kimani Wamatangi, Senator, Kiambu County. Good morning, karibuni sana.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Fred.
Yes, the biggest headline and the biggest talking point, of course, has to do with what's happening in the Senate. Raila senators face off over Wetangula. There's that meeting that's supposed to be happening today, chaired by NASA leader Raila Odinga. He should be chairing the NASA senators parliamentary group meeting. That will happen later, but we'll be discussing what it means and the possibility of Moses Wetangula being reinstated as a leader of minority in the Senate. On the Daily Nation, yes, the Daily Nation has also covered that, but on the front page of the Daily Nation, there's a story, a totally different story. Hope of jobs reaches in open borders deal. Pan-African dream now a reality. 26 heads of state met in Rwanda and signed agreements that allow you to move freely, trade and own property anywhere on the continent. Now, this is big. The problem is that we as Kenyans always focus more on the politics, but this will have a lot of implications on the lives of Kenyans, meaning in as far as employment is concerned, in as far as buying land, owning property, running businesses elsewhere. In Africa, Joseph Simeha, this is something positive, and probably we should be discussing this more than what's happening at the Senate or with NASA.
This is big and it's very positive, but guess what? Focusing on politics is not necessarily wrong, and in fact, focusing on politics for as long as it's progressive politics is what will enable this to have effect. Because the signing of agreements at the continental level, even at a regional or national level, their coming into effect depends on the politics of the country. That can the politics of the country then enable this to translate into real benefits for the citizens. So inevitably, we must discuss our politics and make things right for the citizens of this country to be able to benefit from these kinds of agreements at the continental and regional levels.
Yes.
So it's not about, politics is not about to go away anytime soon.
Yeah.
Because we get it wrong, then it doesn't matter how many agreements are signed, we do not benefit from those agreements.
Okay.
They don't translate into real benefits.
Yes.
But we get it right in our politics. They actually facilitate the process of translating this kind of agreements into real tangible benefit in terms of laws, regulations, and real practices that benefit people.
Okay. Senator Wamatangi, of course, these agreements still have to be ratified by Parliament.
Yes.
But it is something positive. You are a businessman. What kind of, how does this make you feel? Are you already seeing opportunities with this deal?
Well, Fred, to first quickly and then briefly revert to your earlier point, indeed, I think the challenge we have as a country is the obsession, the continuous preoccupation with politics and politicizing everything, and giving it, in my view, undue prominence all the time, such that you find that such important issues are either not given the attention that they require, or you find that issues that would necessarily be brought out by positive debate and actually highlighting, putting this in the upper echelon. I think that would be the way to go. Politics it's continuous, but the height of it should be seasonal. You know, when you have elections, when you have by-elections, when you have major political issues going on, and I think that's the point we should make, that as Kenyans, and really this is something you have to say about the psyche of the country, that you know, every time you find we give too much credence and a lot of weight to politics. But then, having said that, on the question of how does this make me feel, how does it make everybody feel in our country, I think, Fred, what we would have to do and compare ourselves with, for example, is the United States of America. And imagine what a global force it is, what power they pack in economics, militarily, in socio-economic issues, and the strength that they have packaged and leveraged with all the time is just on the basis of the fact that they agreed, with all their history, to unite, to be one United States of America, and generally coalesce and face the issues together. For this, if this can be made a reality in Africa, this would be the game changer. I don't want to get so much into the details of either the economy or really the impact of it, but I just want to say very quickly two things. See, you can just try to figure out the economies of the countries, for example, in the Republic, in the continent of Africa, south of the Sahara, and put them together and imagine what deal, what negotiation wouldn't we be able to hold, against the rest of the world? Right now, if you look at the focus of other countries, for example, China, America itself, you've seen the bid that they've been having to do the dueling of our road from Mombasa to Busia. Every continent right now, the developed ones, including Europe, are focusing primarily on Africa as a business partner, because they know that this is where the opportunities is, this is where their market is, this is where they can come and either sell their goods or exploit our resources. And so this is what I'm saying, that if we can back this, if it can really be a reality that African nations now can unite, it will be a game changer for business people individually like us. I happen to have read recently the autobiography of Mohamed Aliko Dangote, the Nigerian business person who is now said to be the richest black person in the world. And if you probably just try to follow his exploits in investments in Africa, he's invested literally everywhere from Nigeria to Uganda to Congo to wherever, I mean, in major investments. So imagine if you had that free movement and you had 20 or 50 or 100 Aliko Dangotes across Africa, I mean, and the opportunities created, and I believe the headlines are correct in terms of probably job creation, riches across, and you don't have to feel foreign. The way you find an American will do in any state in America. You don't have to feel foreign when you're in Uganda or when you're in Congo.
But there's risks involved because not all African countries are in agreement with this. In fact, some countries stayed away from signing this. You mentioned Aliko Dangote, but Nigeria stayed away from signing this. There are risks involved. Should we, as Kenyans, be worried by some of these agreements? Because yes, it may look positive. I'll be able to own land somewhere, but there could be risks. Probably now it will allow an influx of even more people who are seeking employment in Kenya, making us fight for the same opportunities. We're already facing a huge unemployment deficit.
And that question you were asking me just takes me back to what I said earlier, why I said that until we get certain things right, including our politics, including the grievances that tend to perennially drive the aggressive and divisive nature of our politics, until and unless we get it right with our public institutions, especially regulatory and oversight institutions, the risks may always outweigh the benefits of these kinds of agreements. So, and it's not just for Kenya, it's for every African country, that we have internally as a people to re-engineer our thinking, to drop the things that tend to pull us down, that tend to make us retrogressive, and instead have a progressive outlook, which then should inform our national cultures, how we behave as a people. Because that then determines how we relate with peoples from other nationalities all over the continent. So in my opinion, we are not about to run away from this thing of politics, and every African country, not just Kenya, until each of us look inside very critically and solve those issues that are always simmering and boiling to the surface, in order to enable us to progressively experiment with these kinds of developments for the benefit of the nation and the continent. What happens is that we tend to come up at the national level, regional and continental level, with some very innovative, brilliant ideas, turn them into policies, agreements, and so on, but then impose them on a culture that is not receptive, that does not have space for these kinds of agreements for everyone. A culture that promotes exclusivity. For example, you open up the borders for business and so on. Who is going to benefit in this country? Which jobs are people going to get? You know, you find a few people are going to benefit from huge volumes of trade, and others will just remain loaders and whatnot, you know, at the very bottom, because we will not have solved the problems that keep us all the time fighting in this country and other African countries. So I'm saying, let's align, let us change the culture, then the risks, we will be able to deal with them, because there's nothing new that doesn't come with any risks.
Yes, because even the countries that have stayed away from this, they have good reason to. They are convinced that this is not the best way to go. Then why would Kenya feel fine, we should do this?
Well, I would probably agree with you to only a certain extent that various countries have different considerations, and for example, those that may want to stay away from such agreements, and then you find that most of the ones that would want to stay away will be either counting advantages for having stay. For example, if they think they have stronger economies, they have less to benefit from this kind of arrangement. That probably the partners who have signed in have got more to gain. Probably they are more advantaged with the current scenario, because, for example, if you look at Nigeria, as you've said, probably if you look at, let me just use that parameter of the rich people in Africa, because it's one of the considerations you would look at in business success. If you look at the number of individuals in Nigeria who are counted as rich in Africa, probably they have the first five, you know, other than probably the Sawiris in Egypt and the South African men, who is I think number 4. But they have quite a number of them. And what does that tell you? That because of their population, which is high, because of the size of their economy and market, when they are going to do the exploits against other weaker economies in Africa, the people would be advantaged. So some of those considerations may be there. Of course, notwithstanding that, we also have the different trade pacts in Africa, you know, from you know, our own trade pact to the South African one and the North African one. So some of those considerations may be there. But ultimately, for the continent of Africa, because if you look at it from an outsider's point of view, you know, the way a business person or a country in Europe or in the United States or in China or Japan, when they sit from their apex and look at Africa, we are better off consolidated as a continent. But if, of course, if we look at it as individual nations, then I think we don't get it right. I want to say I would want to congratulate the countries that agreed to it and signed, because that's the first step. Muammar Gaddafi, the Libyan leader, and you know, most unfortunately, in many cases, I hold a different view on the fate and the demise of Muammar Gaddafi. One of the things that he may have been accused of and probably guilty of is those issues of human rights. But one thing that man did so softly and determinedly is to try and empower the nation of Africa. And you see now what happens to Libyans. You find them dying in the ocean, trying to cross over to look for better opportunities in Europe, whereas before they were the best. Look at what Muammar Gaddafi did. He even invested here in Kenya. And all of he would try to open his the oil companies, buy up Grantley regions and all, and including anyway his big dream. What am I saying? I'm saying that for visionaries who see the bigger picture, that Africa would be stronger when we are together and mutually then benefit everybody, you know, to be a better country, be better citizens. I think that would be the way to go.
The story on page 2 of the Daily Nation starts this way: Kenyans can live and own land across Africa after President Uhuru Kenyatta and 26 other heads of state signed a protocol allowing free movement of people, complete with rights to residency and property. And I think that's the biggest challenge we face when discussing such an agreement, trying to simplify it to the common mwananchi. I can see on Twitter it is one of the biggest trending topics, hashtag AFCFTA. But looking at the tweets, it's Uhuru Kenyatta, the president of Zimbabwe, First Lady of Rwanda. It's as if the discussion is just at that level. That many people down here, yes, it could be a trending topic, but we have no idea what this is. And probably that's the reason why. Between this headline, hope of jobs reaches in open border deal. Yes, it looks like a very attractive headline, but trying to understand such a trade agreement for Kenya is going to be tough. Probably that's why we find Wetangula and Raila and what's happening at the Senate much more palatable. But the challenge now is for these leaders to break it down to Mwananchi.
Yeah, and it always happens that they almost always stand accused of attempting to run ahead of the citizens. Any meaningful integration actually starts with the citizens. No, well, of course, the leaders have to work on laws, policies, and so on. But until and unless they get into the game of popularizing this, of ensuring that it's as participatory as possible, not just at the stage of signing, but before this, and I'm agreeing with you that by now, by the time Uhuru Kenyatta, as acting as president, was going to sign this deal, as many as more than 80–90% of Kenyans should have been knowing about it.
Yes.
But that is only if the relevant government departments and ministries would have, and agencies would have been working on it to ensure that the people of Kenya know what their government has been negotiating on their behalf. Oftentimes, our governments, I think I should say, act as if, as if they're boss, not like they're our agent and we are the principal. They act as if they're the principal. That it doesn't matter what you think, they will go ahead and negotiate what they negotiate, and you have to accept that it's good for you. Whereas the ideal thing to do is, even as they negotiate, because we have entrusted them with that responsibility, even as they negotiate, even as before they ever reach any deal, there should be a process of involving the citizens, educating the citizens, informing the citizens, listening to the citizens' views and so on these kinds of issues. And then even when there's agreement, popularizing it within the nation before the leader or the leaders then go and commit that the country is going with this, so that you are carrying everybody. If you look at East African integration, for example, yes, we've had the people at the apex, that is the heads of states, the ministers, and the EALA, the assembly. You've had them try the best they could. But in my opinion, who is achieving the most is the ordinary people, particularly those who stay along the borders, who don't necessarily have to worry about laws and regulations, but will trade with each other, will socialize with each other, will marry across the borders and so on, and actually drive integration much more than any laws, policies, and so on can do. Not saying that they are irrelevant, but just emphasizing what you've said, an elitist approach to these processes works more to hamper the progress than to facilitate progress.
Yes, Senator, you must agree that having that discussion at that top level could have a risk as well. Because even in Europe, if you look at Brexit, for example, the fact that, yes, a country got into a serious agreement with that union, but then the public felt at some point, no, this does not benefit us. It could be worse in Africa.
You know, I'd Fred, look at it from a different point of view, because I think we need to remember our short history. Just recently, very recently, Kenyans, quite a number of Kenyan companies, including individuals, had some very serious challenges with the administration of Tanzania. You remember there was a time one of the media houses in Kenya had a serious run-in with the government, trying to establish offices and work there. Actually, individual Kenyans, including the last time when there was this spat about the killing of day-old chicks and the slaughter of goats and this kind of thing across the borders of Kenya and Kenyan communities, and that is at the community level, at individuals level, you know, the herds was an issue. Now remember that when we had a serious issue across Africa, when there were xenophobic attacks in South Africa on individuals who are being killed by South Africans because of the fear that they have come to grab the few jobs that are available in South Africa. And you remember the gory images that we saw across in social media of people beheaded and this kind of thing. And then turn that coin and look at the exploits of entrepreneurs who go to get jobs for individuals, for example, like Nakumatt, who have tried to establish branches in Rwanda, in Uganda, across Bidco Oil, who have done the same. Kenya Commercial Bank, who have gone across to Sudan and other places. And when they go to do that, they don't go and build offices and exit. They also take Kenyans at that level to work in those offices. Now, so what you're saying is that if you take a sharp look into it, the deals or the pacts, of course, all over in every arrangement globally are signed at that top level, because that's why you have a president, that's why you have ministers to go and commit the country or agree at that level. But if we apply our minds to it, you'll find that the trickle-down effect does not even need to be announced or communicated. Or whatever. Of course, communicated, yes, it is, and educated. People are educated. But you realize, but by the natural flow of things, because, for example, Kenyans are very entrepreneurial. If right now you go to places like between the border of Kenya and Uganda, across Pokot borders there, you find there are a lot of Kenyans who are living there.
Senator, are you saying we just sit back and wait for this to work itself out?
No. You've not understood my point. You've not understood my point. My point is very simple, that even before this pact is signed, you have already forerunners of Kenyans who are already there and doing it. And so it is not this pact that will make people start to move or start to enjoy those benefits. This is really a juxtaposition of what has been happening and what should happen. And so what I'm saying is that this is going to serve now to solidify, to make it easier for that matter. But people are already out there. They're already doing it. If you count the number of Kenyans now who are working in South Africa, who are in Botswana, you remember we had this big issue about our doctors moving to Botswana, and the merits or demerits of it. So my point is very, very simple.
Yes.
Kenyans are not starting to move across African nations right now, either for business or for job opportunities. They are there. This would make it better and easier.
This agreement, the AFCFTA, hashtag AFCFTA, is a second trending hashtag this morning on Twitter. But if you open that hashtag, the kind of conversations there is just quoting presidents, first ladies, the AU, and governments, meaning that the conversation is yet to trickle down to the common mwananchi, but probably because of the profile of those Twitter handles by the respective heads of states. But it's definitely one of those discussions that will continue. Let's now take a break. When we come back, we'll take a look at the big one on the front page of the Standard. Raila senators face off over Wetangula, as well as that impeachment motion against the health CS Cecily Kariuki. Will it go through? That when Power Breakfast returns.